Welcome to The Abundance Journey, the show that helps spiritual entrepreneurs create an abundance mindset that accelerates revenue. Secretly, everything you experience in your life is actually abundance. Once you understand how to activate abundance, you find yourself in flow with your business and clients, so it's easy to create the revenue you want. The Abundance Journey is the only show that activates abundance for you, so you enjoy rapid results in your business. Here's your host, the Abundance Ambassador, Elaine Starling.
Have you ever wondered what happens during a near-death experience? I got to tell you, honestly, I didn't really pay a lot of attention until I had my own really blissful near-death experience. See, I had a stroke, and during my stroke, I got to have a conversation with our higher power. I got a complete download about how everything works, why we're alive, what we can do to live our best life, and what happens next after this life. And honestly, don't worry about it. It's a graduation. It's not an ending. Well, as a result, when I came out of the stroke with absolutely no damage, I was totally fascinated by near-death experiences. It was such a cool experience that I really wanted to know more. So I started reading every single book I could find on the subject, from Dying to Be Me by Anita Moorjani to Proof of Heaven, a neurosurgeon's journey into the afterlife by Eben Alexander. And I ate them up like popcorn. Well, it was really fascinating to me because I noticed that each individual person had a completely unique experience. And at the same time, there were several consistencies too. Now, unfortunately, while I'm fascinated by near-death experiences, I've never had the opportunity to chat with somebody about their near-death experience so that we could kind of compare notes. Well, that's all changed. Yeah. I heard about Kathy McDaniel and I immediately invited her on the show because she is fascinating and her experience is totally different from mine. Let me tell you a little bit about Kathy. You're going to love her. Kathy McDaniel is the author of a memoir. It's called Misfit in Hell to Heaven Expat. See, Kathy was dying from lung failure in 1999, and she was placed on a ventilator and put into a drug-induced coma. Unfortunately, Kathy's near-death experience was really distressing for her, but at the same time, she also experienced the overwhelming bliss of heaven. And as a result, it completely shifted her religious beliefs into a deep spirituality. Same thing happened to me. Interesting. Now, during her lengthy recovery, Kathy was reflecting on the purpose of her near-death experience and then her return to normal life. And she recalled stories of the tribulations that her family's ancestors had endured and their courage to survive. Kathy decided that if they could overcome their overwhelming obstacles, then so could she. Now, Kathy had the help of the International Association for Near-Death Studies. And she really credits them for helping her integrate that near-death experience into her daily life. It helped her accept the sacred mission that caused her reluctant return to Earth. Now, as a result, Kathy shares her experience and all of the messages she received as a guest on a variety of different media places, including the Abundance Journey. Yay! And also in her amazing memoir, Misfit in Hell to Heaven Expat. Kathy, I am so thrilled you're here.
I'm thrilled to be here. Lots of energy going on, huh?
Well, whenever the divine wants to show up, yeah, energy is pretty much at the fore for sure. Before we go down this road, because I have so many questions for you, I just can't wait to compare notes. I'm really excited about this. I want to make sure that we kind of set the tone, we set the energy, and we really tap into that infinite divine guidance that is available to all of us. So we're going to start by breathing together 3 times. And as we breathe in through the nose, think the words, I am. And as we breathe out through the mouth, think the word consciousness. So we'll be breathing I am consciousness 3 times, followed by, I'm going to read an intention. An intention is what we want to create and how we want to feel about it as we're creating it. And it really sets the tone. It's kind of like a spiritual GPS. We're saying, okay, divine, this is where we want to go. Please help us get there. And it helps because we're holding it in silence for 78 seconds. It helps if you come up with 2 or 3 words out of the intention that really resonate for you. They feel expansive, they feel uplifting, they feel exciting. And just repeat those words over and over again in your mind. Also, pay attention to what's happening in your body, because sometimes you'll feel goosebumps or a ripple of heat go through your system. All that is confirmation that the divine has locked on to your vibration and is already starting to move the energy right where we want it to go. So this is going to be so much fun. I cannot wait. Yay! All right, let's get this party started. Let's breathe together 3 times. Breathe in. And breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. In love and light, we hold the intention that we recognize divine guidance in all experiences, including those beyond physical form. So we enjoy complete fulfillment and savor the magic of life. Thank you, divine. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It is done. We give thanks, and so it is. Wow. That was really cool, Kathy. What was that experience like for you?
When I'm really feeling the spirit, I get moved to tears. So I'm there.
Me too. That uprush of joy, it's so expansive. It's so incredible. The natural tendency is to burst into tears because you're so moved. You're so just thrilled to pieces. It was really interesting for me. I felt angels holding my hands.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah. Yeah, really cool. Now, I have not, unfortunately, read your book yet, and I cannot wait to get my hands on a copy. I checked out your website. The reviews are amazing. Can't wait to get my copy. But would you please just give us the download? What was it like? What happened for your near-death experience?
It started with the coma. There was very little they could come up with to do. This was like a precursor to COVID, and I was a guinea pig. And when they said it was lung failure, there was nothing else they could do but the coma, and then they were going to throw the book at me medically. So they told me they were going to give me this medication that would knock me out, and it was going to put my brain offline. I couldn't remember a thing. You're just going to go out. So I went out, and then I woke up. And I was in this dark place. I had no idea how I got there. I had no idea what was going on. It was quiet. I didn't know if I was standing or what, and I just was afraid to move. And then eventually there was this like reddish fog thing happening, and I thought the sun was coming up, but it was not Kansas anymore. This demonic voice came out of the fog and said, "Do you know where you are?" And being a good Catholic, I thought, "Oh, Lordy, hell? No." And the voice just boomed out with this maniacal Bela Lugosi laugh, and I just ran into the darkness. And then eventually the lights would come up bright to bright, and I would find myself in a very strange, usually very dangerous situation. There's no sense of being dead. I mean, your soul is you. Your body's a car. You get out of the car, you're still you. So I'm running for my life. And then something, bad would happen, and the lights would go down and the lights would come back up. The demons came and they spoke perfect English, which blew me away. Had obnoxious things for me to do that were against my moral beliefs, such as working in an abortion clinic. And I would refuse to do them, and hence the misfit in hell. So they would turn out the lights, and sometimes I'd be on this long road to nowhere that, no stars, no sun, no clock. It's an eternal now, as you know, when you get over there. And I just hung in there. I thought, I'm going to get out of here, wherever the heck that is. And again, not knowing I was not on Earth. It got worse and worse. And finally, it became to where I was really starting to lose hope. And I thought, I knew I couldn't despair. I knew that was not okay. And so the last place, I didn't know it was going to be the last place. I was still being a brat and sang a Christmas carol because this one demon lady, I had asked her, I've been here a long time. It's particularly nasty, heavy, something I don't know. And she says, "Oh, well, it's Christmas on Earth. That's always the worst day in hell." And that's when it hit me. And I thought, oh, God. I didn't say God because God's not there. It doesn't come into your consciousness. I just thought, how can I make this woman suffer a little bit? So I started singing a Christmas carol. The rest of the poor ladies with me did too. And when I got to a certain word having to do with Christmas, I didn't say it, but it was coming up my lips. I got boosted out of there and filled with this incredible love. As you know, feels like you're a little helium balloon, flat one, and they put you on the helium and you go whoosh with all the love and bliss and joy that, you can't even, it's ineffable. You can't explain it. And then I saw my best friend who had died the month before of leukemia. I'd been taking care of him and he looked great. And I thought, oh, boy, he doesn't know he's dead. I'm not going to be the one to tell him and bust his bubble because he seems happy. And then I thought, he's laughing, and I didn't say that out loud. So I must be dead. And that's like the best news ever. You can't believe it. And then I remembered he'd been showing me something in this big book. And I said, no, that's going to be too hard. I just want to stay here with you. So he approaches and says, "Now, Mary Kay," and he called me that. It's Mary Kathleen. I go by Kathy. He says, "You've got too much left to do." And I thought, yikes, they're throwing me out. So I just said, no, I refused to go. And the lights went out and the lights came up. And I was in the recovering room of the ICU. And that's when the real hell began.
Wow. What an incredible journey. That is so amazing. So I want to do a quick recap of my near-death experience, just so we have that kind of contrast and compare. I know you said you've read my book, so you have an overview, but I want to share with our audience. So I was really blessed to have a stroke on New Year's Day, 2005. And I say blessed because that's when I got to have a conversation with our higher power. And it was really interesting because I got a headache and kind of tunnel vision with sparkles around the outside. And my balance was a little off. So I sat down on a bench with my husband there. And all of a sudden my right arm went numb and the right side of my face went numb. And those are classic signs that you're having a stroke. So he got me to a medical center. We were on vacation at the time in Queenstown, New Zealand on the South Island. And they gave me an aspirin. and they asked me to describe a poster on the wall. And I knew what they said, and I knew what the poster looked like, but the words that came out of my mouth made absolutely no sense. And I knew they didn't make sense. Now, I felt fine. I felt like a really lazy Saturday when I could sleep in, hit the sleep alarm and roll over. And I was really tired. I just want to take a nap. So finally, they gave me an aspirin, and I asked them, hey, can I take a nap? And when they said I could, I immediately found myself in a cloud, a massive cloud. And I was part of it, and it was part of me. Mm-hmm. And the cloud started speaking to me. I realized later what I was seeing was atoms. And the fascinating thing to me is that traditional senses did not exist. Sight, sound, taste, touch, smell, all of that is very primitive. It's kind of the starter kit. And so that wasn't used. It was immediate knowing. And I found myself asking questions. And every time I would ask a question, the answer was there in my body. 360 degrees, past, present, future, more colors than we can see, sounds we can't hear. I mean, everything. It was like swallowing Google whole, like everything all in one. And it was fascinating. I felt kind of like I was at a mixer. So here I am with God, right? And there's all these other entities. I see Jesus going by. Hey, how's it going? But I'm in the middle of this conversation with God. I'm getting some incredible answers, and I don't want to interrupt his flow. So I'm like, I'm totally tuned in to what they're saying. And all these other folks are wandering by. And eventually I hear this question, are you sure you're done? And I was like, oh, no, we're halfway through our vacation. We had a really wonderful week, and now we've got another week to go. It's gorgeous. And I heard, no. You said you were done thrashing in your life, with your job, with the work that you do. You were really frustrated by it, and you couldn't figure out how to fix it. So you were just going to give up and stop thrashing. Are you sure you're done? Because if you're sure you're done, we can use that ectoplasm for something else. Are you sure you're done? And I had this deep knowing that I was really, really close to something important. And my husband was right there. I really didn't want to disappoint him. We've been together forever and blissfully married. And I knew I had to go back. And so I got this message, great, get back and get busy. And I came out of the stroke with zero damage, nothing, just kind of like, what just happened? It's like, is that real? I mean, I didn't tell anybody about this experience for 3 years because I was really having trouble processing it and understanding it. Now, you said that you had a lot of support from an organization that is all about studying near-death experiences. So how are they able to support you in processing that and absorbing it?
It took me 10 years to find them. So I appreciate your 3 years. Nobody wanted to hear about a good Catholic girl going to hell. And I had no good answers. Why were you there? So I just shut up like you. I started writing it out. I thought if I could write it out and stick it in a drawer, it'd go away. But as you know, it doesn't. It's in your soul. It's not in your brain. So eventually, the synchronicities started happening. And I don't know about you, but the voice, you hear the voice. It's like your conscience used to be, but now it's loud and insistent. So I was told to go to Seattle, and through the synchronicities, which were crazy, I found ions, and I went into a meeting, and here's, I don't know how many, 100 people or something. And I thought, what? There's 100 people in the world that have had this happen, and of course, some of them were just looky-loos. But I went to a couple of them, and they had the experiences like you, the angels and Jesus coming by for lunch. And I thought, that's not what happened to me. And so I was sneaking out of a meeting, and Greg, one of the guys that runs it, says, where are you going? And I said, I don't belong here. And he says, why? And I says, This isn't what happened to me. And he says, great. And I said, what? And he said, oh, no, those happen about 15-20% of the time, and nobody will talk about them. So he grabs me by the collar, takes me to another lady and says, hey, we got to get her to give her speech. And I says, no way. I'm going to embarrass myself. And I don't like public speaking. No. And they said, no, you got to do it. We need to hear this. And so they said, here you go, you're going to do it. It got a little more complicated, but I thought, okay, bring popcorn like you, and I'll get up there and make a fool of myself. So the place was packed. It got out that, one of those people was going to come talk, and I was just terrified. I sat up there on the stage with all these people, and I thought, I'm a storyteller. They'll either stay or they'll leave. I never have to see these people again. They want to hear the story. I'll give them the damn story. So I did. I just really told them everything. And I mean, you could have heard a pin drop in that room. The eyes were all bugged out, and they were with me. They knew they believed me. They had been on the other side, and they were dying to hear about this. So we get all the way to the end. And like I say, they were all terrified. And finally, we got out, and there was clapping. They were so happy. We all got out of there. And I thought, wow, that wasn't so bad, and that encouraged me, again, with more and more synchronicities, and then COVID, and I'm stuck in the house, and I'd been to a conference. I started going to these conferences, which are, if you've never been, I'm telling you, Elaine, you have to go. They're doing one in Phoenix this year at the end of the month.
Cool.
But you talk about 800 people that have had our experiences. The energy is insane. They've got a dedicated guy that just goes from room to room to reset the computers. The lights go out. The mics aren't working. I don't know about you, but we kind of screw up electricity when we get back.
Yeah.
So then I was at the end of one of the conferences, and this lady who I did not want to write the book. The voice kept saying, write a book. And I said, no. So this lady that is a medium at the end of the conference stepped in front of me and said, they say you need to write the book. And I thought, oh, I think I'm not going to get around this lady. She was publishing. She'd been in the business. She was starting her own. So then COVID hit. I'm stuck in the house. I've got no more excuses. And when I sit down to write, it just flows.
Yeah.
And you're doing the right thing when it's not hard and it's fun. And I finally got it done. And then it comes to, what do you do with the darn book? You peddle it to the neighbors, give them for Christmas presents. So finally, I got an email from this lady. She was in New Zealand, and she says, I've got a podcast, and I heard about your story. And I said, I can't, I want you in my program. And I said, I can't fly to New Zealand. I don't have enough money. No, Zoom is what we're doing. So that was number one. And that was about, I guess it's been about 4 years ago now. And now this is my 151st podcast or speaking engagement. And God works in strange ways.
Yes, God works in very strange ways. And it's really interesting. I call it the divine, because I don't want to leave anybody out. I want to include ancestors, angels, gods, deities, every spiritual entity. It's kind of like my version of all y'all. And so the plural of y'all is all y'all. Yeah. The divine. Everybody's included, all spiritual entities. And my experience of them is effervescent joy, just over the top, happy, excited, delighted, silly. They love silly. They're always after me to lighten up. And just like you were saying, when it feels good, you're on the right track. It's right because you feel it in your body. You're just this flow, this ease, this grace. And I've noticed a sense of grateful curiosity. It's like, I don't know what's coming next, but I'm really interested to learn. So I'm leaning in with excitement and delight. I can't wait to discover more, and when I'm in that space, I'm definitely in alignment with the divine. and things are flowing my way. I think it's absolutely fascinating, the experience that you had, where you had a lot of challenges, a lot of really uncomfortable experiences before you broke out of that into a really incredibly loving, supportive, amazing experience. And so often we struggle with that in our day-to-day lives, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
I think that it took a long time for me to process what that was all about, and to come to the conclusion that God didn't do that to me.
No.
Because when you're there, God is all loving. There's no room for anything but love and forgiveness and mercy and, yeah, and grace. And so it took me a long time to realize that my upbringing as a very strict Catholic girl had forced me into believing in purgatory, and no matter if Jesus died for my sins or not, I was still going to have to pay, and so I bought that. And there's, I think, a certain manifestation that happened that I expected that to happen, and so it did. So I can trace back all those terrible things that happened to me in hell to actual experiences that I had on earth that were hellish. So I made my own hell. God didn't do that to me. And I also believe, and I'm sure you're in the same boat, that we pre-plan our lives. We come down here with our soulmates and we decide that we want to do this, that, and the other thing, learn and experience and all of that. So I chose to do this. What I was thinking, I really don't know. I know I'll find out, but right now I questioned it. But it was something, I was a brave soul, foolhardy baby. I wanted adventure. Come on, throw it at me. So I chose that. And now I'm sharing that, and I'm, anytime I can encourage, I've done this little bit of a test, and when I meet other people that have had the distressing ones, one of my first questions is, so how were you raised? What was your religion? And they say, oh, I was a Catholic. At least 85% of the people that I've run across, and there's quite a few, were Catholics. We're recovering Catholics now. And, God bless the people. They didn't really know what they were doing. You have to forgive everybody and be merciful and all that stuff. But it's kind of interesting.
It's very interesting. It really is. A couple things that I want to share around that, because I totally agree with what you're saying here. One of the messages that I was given during my stroke is that everything is love. Absolutely everything is love. Doesn't matter what you're talking about, your desk, your computer, you, the divine, it's all love. So the question comes, how do you expand the divine if everything is already love? Well, you create human beings who don't experience everything as love. We get to experience contrast, the difference between what is wanted and what is not wanted, which creates friction. And then we have a choice. We can step back in fear, or we can step forward in love, not knowing what's going to happen. We're open, we're vulnerable, we're loving, and we're trusting in the divine. We're trusting that God has our backs. And when we do that, it literally expands the divine. This is the cutting edge of the divine. And that's why we've been here many times before, and we will be here many times in the future, because this is the rock star place to be. It doesn't mean it's easy. It's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to expand the divine, and that requires some oomph. It was really interesting. I was blessed after that stroke to spend time the next 10 years with my parents and my in-laws with end of life issues. And my dad didn't think there was anything after this life. And I knew a little differently. And I was like, yeah, I'm kind of worried about him, because he's convinced that once he's gone, and there's nothing else. Should I be worried about him? And the message came back, well, how long can you go without a thought? And I was like, oh yeah, negative nanoseconds. I'm constantly stuff hanging all the time up there. Are you kidding me? And I said, well, your dad's the same way. As soon as he asks a question, he will be answered, and the dialogue begins. So yeah, you don't have to worry about him. And it was so interesting to me because my dad always worried about me merging on the freeway. I'm a really good driver, but for some reason, he's a dad. So he always worried about me merging on the freeway. To this day, my dad clears space for me to merge onto the freeway every single time. Now I always look, I always check, and then I say, thanks, Dad, love you, miss you. They're there. They are with us. They're sending us love and blessings all the time.
My dad's still with me. He does things with lights. Yeah. The same thing. Hi, Dad. I know you're there. Thank you for watching over me. Yeah, that's what people need to hear. Their loved ones aren't gone. They're right here.
Yeah, another thing that I noticed that shifted for me, and I'm curious about what shifted for you, I started deliberately paying attention to the words that I use because I realized that the stories I make up in my head about what things mean and the words I use, like I have eliminated I want, I try, I need, I don't do that anymore. I choose, I create. I'm taking control of the language that I use more because I can tell vibrationally, I can tell in my body when it's expansive and supportive versus when it's shutting me down. Have you noticed anything like that, or has something else shifted for you in your daily life?
Well, what I loved about your book was, the abundance and going that direction. And I thought, I do that too. And it was wonderful to have that link and say, okay, that's fine. Because for me, I choose my words. First thing, every morning I wake up, I just say I'm grateful. When I go to bed at night, I am grateful. But when in the morning, when I'm getting ready and I've had my shower or whatever, and I just look in the mirror and I smile and I say, I am abundantly healthy. I am abundantly wealthy. I'm abundantly loved. And I've got about 7, 8 things. And I just convince myself that that's the way it is. And I love that that kind of dovetails with what you teach.
Absolutely. And I love what you said because I am is a really, really powerful connection with the divine. That's why I start by breathing together 3 times. I am consciousness, because it is letting the divine know we're deliberately hooking up with you right now. By the way, we just got on your train. In case you didn't notice, we're on board now. And here's where we'd like to go, right? So I am is a super powerful way to state your goals. And I like to say, I am so happy and grateful that. And it was really interesting. I read all about the power of I am goals in a book called A Happy Pocket Full of Money. A Happy Pocket Full of Money. Highly recommend that book. And it was so fun. I'm like, wow, yeah, I believe it. I am so sold. And it'd be really nice if there was an example in my own life that I could point to and go, aha, I've got proof positive, it works. And then they hit me upside the head with a blinding flash of the obvious. And I remembered a conversation that I've had many times with my husband and with him as a boyfriend back in the day. And it sounded something like this. Honey, I'm so happy and grateful that I get to share my life with you. I am more in love with you every single day. And I love that you don't see the world the way I do. Because when I can hear you, I can't hear you all the time, but when I can hear you, it really expands my world. I am so blessed that we get to share life together. We've been together for 44 years now and counting. Wow. And we are more in love every single day. Good. It really works.
Good.
It really does.
Yeah. Good for you.
Now, you mentioned that your spiritual life changed dramatically too. What happened there?
Well, it was just as simple as the prayers didn't make sense anymore. I mean, there's one, and we look forward to the resurrection of the dead and the life. And wait. There's no bodies in heaven, folks. It just started falling apart. And again, with COVID, I couldn't go to church. So I had a lot of time to think. And then I got around other people that said, yeah, well, most of us become spiritual rather than religious. And I got a big, thick book about the new history of early Christianity, where the Bible came from. And that gave me permission to accept the fact that I don't believe in that stuff anymore. No, I don't. And it became a problem with the family, the sister with a reborn Christian and my mother and father who passed out communion and read the lecterns. And so I got a couple of, oh my gods, from them. And when I do go to visit the family once a month, every other month, I'll go to church, and me and God kind of wink eyes and chuckle a little bit and say, it's helpful for them, Kathy. That's cool. But we know different.
Yeah, it was really interesting. A couple of weeks ago now, I suddenly noticed that I was spontaneously thinking a little kind of prayer, mantra, affirmation. And it just kind of came out of nowhere. Infinite divine love, blessings, enlightenment, vibrant health, and prosperity. Infinite divine love, blessings, enlightenment, vibrant health, and prosperity. And I noticed that this was just going over and over and over again. And then this conversation with the divine came in. And I was like, well, who do you want to send this to? And I'm like, okay, everybody, can we do that? Sure, let's do that. And I'm like, the weather's been kind of lousy lately. Can I send good energy to the weather and to the planet? I mean, there's a lot of problems with the planet that I don't know how to solve. I figure you do. So can I send good energy that way? And they were like, well, yeah, because humans often think you're using words, but you're not. Words are just there to create the energy in your body, to create that energy in your energy being. When you have that feeling, like you feel expansive after you hear the intention, you feel expansive when you know that deep, profound connection with the God of your understanding. When you're in that space, that is your true power. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can send energy to anything you want to send energy to. And I was shown an image of a fireman holding a fire hose. We are holding the hose, and we direct the hose wherever we want that divine energy to go. So when someone's having a difficult time, or they're dealing with cancer, or you notice that there are conflicts around the world or a natural disaster, you can send energy.
Right.
And it makes a difference. It really does.
It does.
Yeah. Yeah. One more story I want to share with you, because I think it's really profound and it really aligns with what we're talking about. There's a great book out there called The Magic of Surrender by Kute Blackson, Kute Blackson. Brilliant book. And his dad was called the Miracle Minister, because he kept experiencing miracles and creating miracles for people. And so in the book, Kute, as an adult, was talking with his dad, and he was like, so tell me about one of the miracles that you experienced. And his dad talked about the king from Ghana, which was where they were originally from. They were living in London. The king from Ghana had a stroke, and he was in London in the hospital and wanted to see the miracle minister. So the miracle minister had a conversation with the king's wife, the queen, and asked her to get him to his home in London. And the miracle minister went and met with the guy in his bedroom, in his home in London, and was praying over him, wishing for his immediate miraculous transformation. Half of his body was paralyzed. And the miracle minister got this image of tomato juice. And so he asked the queen, do you happen to have any tomato juice? And she said, yeah, I think we do. You want me to bring some? Yeah, that'd be great. So she goes and she gets the tomato juice, and the king drinks the tomato juice, and they hear these loud pops and cracks. And the king, who was paralyzed, jumps out of bed, and he's walking around and everything's working fine. And Kute goes, wow, Dad, what did you do to create this miracle? And his dad said, well, I didn't do anything. God did all the work. What I did is I got out of the way. I stopped having to understand it. I stopped judging it. I stopped asking questions about it and trying to get the logic and the rationale and why it all works and how come. And I didn't need to know any of that. All I needed to know was tomato juice. Is there any tomato juice? And God took care of the rest. And I just found that so profound because I think that that is something I have been learning, and I haven't mastered yet, but I've been learning to get out of the way of the divine messages. What has your experience been?
I was such afraid and weird, and after all that happened, and I was, I finally said to God, okay, listen, I whatever has I've been believing and doing, thou shalt nots, it's not working. I need something I can do that's positive, and I need it now. And the voice, came back with just be loving and kind. Loving and kind. And I heard that for days, loving and kind. Okay, I got it. And then a couple days later, loving and kind, merciful and forgiving. A couple days later, loving, kind, merciful, forgiving, encouraging, grateful. The last part, non-judgmental and useful. So I could let all of that go. And I heard, and if you can't remember all of that, just be loving and kind. So, they knew me. So,
Yeah.
but it's funny because, I don't know what I had for breakfast. I can't find my keys, but I got loving, kind, merciful, forgiving, encouraging, grateful, non-judgmental, and useful, all inside my whole being. And, that's what I've done, and it's totally changed my life. You can let go because all you got to do is be loving and kind, and everybody around you starts to change. When you're not sniping and bitching and worrying and all that stuff, and you become this presence, this calm presence, bringing God's love just by being loving and kind. And I've been hanging out with this senior center down here where I live for a year now. And the lady that runs it said just the other day, I can't believe how the energy's changed in this place since you've come. Everybody's nicer to one another. It's just, I just don't know what to say. And I thought, cool. I didn't do anything. I'm just practicing being loving and kind. It's easy.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is a practice.
Yeah.
It is absolutely a practice. And one of the things that I was shown is we are all spiritual masters. Mm-hmm. Every single one of us is a spiritual master. It doesn't mean that it's a one and done. It's more like balance. It was so funny. I remember years and years ago, my nephew was like 10 or something. And my older brother used to ride a unicycle, and he was teaching our nephew, Brian, how to ride the unicycle. And I was supposed to be next. So I'm like, oh yeah, all right. I need a couple tips here, Brian. How's this supposed to work? How come you're so successful at it? He's like, well, you just got to do two things. First, you got to get your balance, and then you got to wiggle a lot. And I'm like, wiggle? I can wiggle a lot, but I have no idea where to get the balance part. And yet it's so funny. Human beings think I should be able to just, check that off the list and I'm done. And I never have to look at that again. But that's not what life is like. True spiritual mastery is allowing the variety of life to pass into your awareness, and it doesn't bother you. That you experience everything in your life as a blessing. Mm-hmm. It's there to enrich your life. And sometimes it's not obvious. It's something that it's like a scavenger hunt, frankly. You have to dig under the bushes and really think about it before you notice the blessing that's there for you. But especially, I notice that the areas where things seem to be most difficult, most challenging, I'm most resistant to it, that's like the divine has neon lights going, go here, this is the place to pay attention, this needs help. Because I'll have the most growth when I'm willing to look there and I'm willing to experience the blessings that are present there.
Yeah.
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 It sounds like your life has just changed so radically, Kathy. What is it that you are loving most about your life right now?
People. I didn't used to like people. They were annoying. They were, yeah, I was a loner. I really was. And now I love people. And the crazier, the most misshapen, strange, weird, I love them. They're my people. And I think that changes everything when you just, you let people be the humans that they signed up to be with all the things that they're going to do, and just support them and sometimes get out of the way. I love the fact that I like to think that we've pre-planned a lot of this. We got our free will. If it's not going a way that we want, we can wander if we want to. But like you and I, what are the chances in our lifetimes that we would cross paths? But we planned it. And I like to think that, on some other level or some other life, we were friends and we said, oh, I'm going to be really busy on Earth this time, but let's get together for an hour. It'll be a kick.
And what a kick it is. I mean, honestly, Kathy, I really want to keep you here all day long because I'm just having so much fun with this conversation.
Yeah.
And I know I can't do that. But one of the things we always like to do here at the Abundance Journey, we love to turn the tables on our guests because we know that when we give is when we truly receive the most. So what can we do to support you?
Well, thanks for having me on the program, because this is going to be seen by more people. And I kind of got the feeling that when they told me in heaven, you've got too much left to do, I have this idea of a blackboard with all these different people I have to talk to or influence in some way. And so every time I do something like this and we see how many hundred people here, I can chalk all those people off of my list. And when I get the last one done, wow, I'm going home. So I think just by watching the program and maybe, sending a copy of our time together on their Facebook and social media helps everybody. It helps everybody.
It absolutely does. Wow, Kathy, you have given me so much food for thought because I always take notes. I learn so much. And just hearing about your experience was really, really interesting. I've got 3 pages of notes, and I have to pick just one of the incredible things that you shared with us. There were so many, but I have to pick just one to do the Activate Abundance segment around. So you're making my life a little interesting.
Good.
It is good. This is fabulous.
Bored. I hate being bored.
Oh, man. Amazing. Amazing. Kathy, thank you so much for your time today.
Elaine, I loved it. I love you.
Oh, that's awesome. It's mutual. All right, stick around. We're going to activate abundance in just a moment. Hi, it's Elaine Starling, the Abundance Ambassador, and I know since you're listening to this show or watching this show, The Abundance Journey, you really want to experience more abundance in your life. Well, that's why I wrote the book, 5 Steps to Activate Your Abundance. It's available for sale right now from Amazon, from barnesandnoble.com, and many international sellers. And I want you to pick up a copy because I'm really opening the kimono here and sharing all of the information you need to experience abundance in every single aspect of your life. The book's divided into 3 parts. Part 1 is called Meeting the Divine. This is where I share my near-death experience and the conversation I got to have with our higher power during my stroke. In Part 2, Messages from the Divine, I share the best practices that I was given, the secret sauce in how life actually works. And so you understand really why you're here and how you can make the most of your life so you love every single moment. And then in the Part 3 is Partnering with the Divine. That's where I go into each of the 5 steps to activate your abundance and explain exactly why it works so well. So take a moment to pick up a copy. It's available as an ebook, a paperback book, an audiobook, and a video course. So however you like to absorb information, abundance is waiting for you. Oh my gosh. I mean, my mind is blown. Kathy McDaniel, is amazing. And I love the way she explained her near-death experience. Step one is gratitude. Gratitude is the ignition switch to higher consciousness. Gratitude is the acorn of your abundance tree. Everything begins with gratitude. And when you have the opportunity to hook up with somebody of such high energy, such incredible spiritual caliber, I mean, wow. Kathy really rocked my world. Poor thing, I kept her waiting for a long time because I'm like, I can't pick. There's so much good stuff here. Step two is to acknowledge something you heard that was a bit of an aha for you. There were so many. There were so many. I loved it when Kathy was talking about being at that conference for people who have had near-death experiences, and she was starting to sneak out. And somebody said, no, 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 we need to hear this. How often have you thought that your voice didn't matter? How often have you pretended that your presence didn't count? How often did you deny your own brilliance, your own power, your own divine connection? It's a choice that we make. And it's really nice to remember we need this. We need to hear this. We really want to hear from you. We want to hear in your words, your experience, and how it shaped your life. We learn so much through stories. We really do. And hearing Kathy's story today blew me away. She's amazing. She's really amazing. I can't wait to read her book. It's going to be awesome. All right. Step three is appreciate the difference it can make in your life. So when I look at remembering, they need to hear this. It helps me get out of my own way, right? Because it's not about me. I can stop worrying about, well, what are they going to think about this? And am I going to look like an idiot? And oh my, I have to prove. No, you just have to let people feel it. They will know their truth based on how it makes them feel. And when it feels expansive and uplifting and empowering and enlightening, it is truth. It is leading you where you are wanting to go. So, yeah, I love this idea. They need to hear this. They need to hear you. And I can appreciate that because that reminder gets me out of the way. It's just like the miracle minister. I stop judging it. I stop evaluating it. I stop questioning it. I just share my truth. That's all I have to do. Because actually, honestly, it's not my truth. I was chatting about this with Kathy before I started doing this segment. Both of us felt like we weren't really the ones talking. The divine was flowing through both of us and shaping our words and bringing out the stories. And we are conduits for the divine. We really, truly are. It's only when I block it with my human doubts and fears that the problems happen. When I get out of the way, it's amazing the transformations that show up. Awesome. Step 4, we're going to activate it. We're going to go from concept to actual physical, feet on the street, traction, real abundance. Okay. There's 3 different ways you do this. The first way is grab a calendar and schedule time to get it done. I put journaling in this category too. Journaling's really powerful because it helps you get the thoughts and the emotions out on paper. It gives you that objective perspective of what's going on in your life so you can see it better and you can understand it better. It's one of the ways I was able to identify when I was using words that didn't really support me. And when I discover that I'm holding back on sharing my truth. Yeah, journaling, really, really key here. The second way that we can activate abundance is by creating a physical trigger, like crossing your fingers or tugging on your earlobe as a reminder about how you want to show up. And honestly, I do that before every meeting. I tug on my earlobe because this is a reminder to me to listen to the divine messages. Don't listen to my messages, listen to divine messages and let those be the ones that flow through me. That makes all the difference in the world for me. The third way that we can activate abundance is to declare what we're going to do, which I kind of have been. And it really helps when you've got an accountability buddy or a coach, somebody who really gets you and understands what your commitment truly is about how you're showing up. Because how you show up, like my words, where I don't use the word want or need or try anymore, I always ask people, call me on it if you notice that I accidentally use that word, because I really want to be in my power. I really want to be in flow with the divine and sharing my authentic truth, because they need to hear this, right? Step 5, celebrate your progress. Isn't this awesome? I mean, truly, when you wrap your head around the fact that every single person on this planet is a spiritual master, a practicing spiritual master. They are perpetually learning to balance and be in flow with life and all of the things that show up, all the things that happen, and realize the blessings that are present. And when we open ourselves up to hear someone else's truth and be present to witness their truth, is when we can receive even more blessings. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll see you next time for the Abundance Journey.
You've been listening to the Abundance Journey Show with Elaine Starling. Visit theabundancejourney.com/podcast gifts to access today's gift, as well as gifts from our other guests. Tune in every week to activate abundance in your life and business. If something resonated with you, please share it with your friends so they can benefit too. Keep activating abundance, and we'll see you in the next episode.